Welcome to the Business Trendsetter Podcast, where we talk about trends and how to use them to grow your business. My name is Manny, and today we're joined by two guests that are in the real estate domain. The first of which is Rebecca Crane, and then there's Tanner Herbert. They are both principals of a company called the Signature Group that is on the front lines of real estate here in Tucson, Arizona. And I'd like to have them on here just because I'm curious of what's happening with real estate and what's happening with all these mega trends we talk about, like AI and the gig economy and how it's affecting them. So let's off the conversation with Rebecca. Talk about yourself, and then we'll go to Tanner after that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Manny, for having us today. The real estate market is a roller coaster, as always. I've been in the business for 10 years riding this ride, so it's been fun. I was in the restaurant industry before I got into real estate. I think that there's a lot of similarities in the restaurant industry and real estate as far as how we conduct business with our clients. And so I actually look for that when I go out to eat, to see if there's some good potential team members out there. Because, you have to have a sense of urgency. You've got to be able to listen to what people want and really anticipate what their needs are before they even know sometimes. So that was 10 years ago. I got into the business. I was on a real estate team at first. I was on that team for about 2 years. And then I got off and started my own team. Tanner will tell you a little bit more about like how we all joined. But in 2020, I was actually going through a divorce and I was making some big life changes, as a lot of us were when the world got shut down. Real estate was still going. We were booming, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to really take a look in. I lost one of my agents. It was only myself, a transaction coordinator, and one other agent. And he left because there was so much uncertainty of what was going to happen during
Mm-hmm.
COVID.
Yeah.
So I needed to decide, was I going to stay small and just make a lot of money, just me and the transaction coordinator, or was I going to go big? And that's when the guy stepped in and presented me with an opportunity to join forces. And that was in 2020. And we have been going big ever since.
Awesome. Well, we'll come back to some of the things you said, Rebecca. I think there's some nuggets of wisdom there. Tanner, tell us about yourself.
All right, man. I grew up in Douglas, Arizona. Go Bulldogs. I came to Tucson, went to the University of Arizona, and then I just never left. Fell in love with Tucson. I have a really silly degree. I got my degree in religious studies. It's just not super marketable. So right after college, I worked in the golf industry. I was a custom club fitter, and I really sort of fell in love with sales. I was winning a bunch of awards for selling golf clubs. And in my head, I thought that was going to translate into selling houses. It didn't really. Like, people don't go in and buy a driver like they buy a house. That's not a decision that you make over a weekend. That's something that you really think about. But that's kind of what spurred me to go into real estate, is like, hey, I like the sales gig, but I want to be able to, maybe get paid a little bit more for doing the same sort of idea. Again, like I said, it didn't really pan out that way. I started on a team. That's how I met Jason and Rebecca. And I left that team with Jason about a year in. Quickly realized, hey, I don't know why I'm paying someone else to do this. I feel like I kind of got a good head on my shoulders. I can figure out how to do this. It was really nice to lean on Jason and start this thing. And then him and I had a team for about 4 years before we connected with Rebecca again. And I like to say that we got her when she was weak and making, decisions, but she was always someone that we wanted to come together with and start this thing. She has this ability to really dive into the systems where Jason and I just don't have that. We're more big thinkers. We are risk takers. And then, we take the risk and we start something, and then we just don't have the systems in place. And Rebecca was just that perfect person to slide in there and take on something that, we're just pretty bad at.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about finding people in your team that have complementary skills, and it's pretty rare that you can get a person like just like you said, slide in and make that much impact. I'm also from Douglas, of course, and I wanted to say something interesting about the idea of networking and what it really means. Because Rebecca, you touched on it a little bit in the restaurant space. You were fitting golf clubs and all that and selling that, Tanner. And no matter what we do, we talk about all these like AI and the gig economy, but it's still a human interaction. Yeah. And I mean, I would assume that, this is my next question really has to do with the human aspect and the automated aspect. We'll just call it automation or AI on this other side. How have you seen that change over the past 10 years? And I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. Let's start off with you, Tanner.
Honestly, in the last 10 years, you start to see more algorithms in place, right? Like when I first got into the business, like the Zillow's estimate wasn't there. These algorithms, like we use companies called PropStream, we use companies called AirDNA that sort of figure out like, they help you with comping property. That wasn't really something when we first came up. So that's nice. That's something that like helps streamline the business. It's always like an extra step that we can like lean on if there's a confusing property or there's something that like we're just a little unsure of, so that makes it a little nicer. But as far as AI being like something I'm worried about in the industry, as you mentioned, it's very much a personal business. We have so many, like, I mean, we can talk about multi-million-dollar deals that like are close to falling apart because people are arguing over $1,000 repair. You know what I mean? That's something to me that like AI just can't do, right? It's really that human touch, that element, like, hey, let's all chill out a little bit and figure out the right way to proceed. But as far as like steps to help you with your business, like AI has been great for us.
Great. And what about your Rebecca? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, talking about going back like 10 years, I think when AI first came out, we were scared. I think a lot of people were scared of AI, like we were going to lose our jobs or something. But instead, we've embraced it. I think that we've really used AI to streamline our business. Tanner touched on some great points, like we use it for marketing, getting messages out there very quickly. We can put presentations together very quickly, just automating very repetitive tasks. But then also, we can now gather so much data so quickly and really pinpoint who we need to be marketing to based on algorithms, so that we're not wasting a lot of money and time on people that aren't ready to sell. We can really pinpoint who's ready based on algorithms like how much equity they have in their home, how long they've lived in their home, and any sort of distress situation they might be going in. So we're able to be more efficient in what we do using AI as a tool versus being scared of it.
No, I see that, and I think we've done kind of an off the cuff survey of CEOs. We've talked to, I don't know, probably 100 so far. Just kind of nothing scientific, but just about AI in general. And I would say a probably good third of them, believe it or not, a third of them are fighting almost against AI. It's like 28% are like pushing back. And they don't want it, right? They think it's not to say they think it's the devil, but they don't want it. They just think it's, they just are putting it off, or they're not even looking at it. And so I'm glad you guys are embracing it as a tool.
We use it daily, actually, with our new leads that come into our CRM. We have an AI chatbot that literally talks to leads and gets them to convert. They act as if they are our assistant, and then they get us linked up with an actual conversation. So, yeah, we are embracing the technology and using it to better our clients' experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And actually, let's go to the client. Let's talk about the client. And I like the 10 years seems to be a good time frame, because you guys have been in this for at least 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how the clients have changed. 10 years, let's go 10, 5, and now. 10 years ago, who was it looking for houses? Who was it looking to sell houses? And then let's go 5, and let's go now. And let's start off with Rebecca.
Okay, I mean, the first thing that comes to my brain is like the client has changed in the fact that when they want something, they want it now. They aren't willing to wait a couple hours or a day. Like they are very much like they want the information, they want it now. And if we're not able to provide them with that information, they're going to get it somewhere else. The people that are buying homes are the same people that were buying homes before. I think, if anything, I'm seeing a lot more younger people in the market than previously. And I don't necessarily know why that is, but I have sold to a lot of younger people than I used to. I don't know if that's just my lead generation strategy or if it's a new cycle that's happening, but that's a big factor that I'm seeing. What about you, Tanner?
I'm seeing a lot of, and I just read some stats that the millennial demographic is going to be the biggest buyer for like the next 10 years. Where again, when we first got in, it was like you were selling move up homes to like baby boomers. I was shocked. I got into the business relatively young. I think I was 24, 25. But I think until I was 30, I had one person that was maybe younger that bought, one client that bought that was younger than me. So you just didn't see that, right? So like most of your clients were 50 plus. And now, a majority of both of our clients, I think, are, around our age. So you're starting to see people sort of planning to purchase. That's more in that millennial Gen X kind of age group.
Okay. And then I'll let you guys figure out who wants to answer the next question or both. Tell me about the Signature Group. Tell me about your company. What's different about you? What's the value that you provide to your clients? Give me the high
Go
level.
for it, Rebecca.
Okay. I mean, honestly, we are a one-stop shop. So we have lots of different things that we can do to help our clients. We not only help with resale, buying and selling resale homes, we also help with new construction. So we can help people go to new construction sites and represent them in a better way than the builder can, because we have their best interests at heart versus the sales rep that's there. We also are investors ourselves. So we buy homes and we flip them and we hold them depending on the property. We will look at a property and decide what the best income source is for that property. And because we're investing in properties, we're getting in front of properties by offering cash to purchase homes. So we can go in front of someone that just had a death in the family or is pre-foreclosure, and we can offer them cash for their home so that they're not going to have a foreclosure on their record, or someone that doesn't want to fix up a property that needs 50, 60, $70,000 into it, and that they're going to just be sitting on, it's going to be deteriorating over years, right? We can offer them cash, hassle-free. They pick their terms, then we take that project on and we will either flip it or renovate it and keep it as a rental. So we've got lots and lots of different avenues. But
Yeah,
also,
we like to think we can go in and like we have multiple tools in our tool belt, right? A lot of realtors are sort of a one-stop shop. Excuse me, a lot of realtors are they only have one play in their playbook, right? It's like traditionally listing it on the MLS. We like to have a lot of options to present people. So when we go into any presentation, whether it's buyers or sellers, like we like to have options. So even a buyer, because we get in front of so many off-market properties, if someone's looking for something specific and they can't find it on the MLS, chances are that we have it in our database somewhere and we can connect those dots.
Very nice, very nice. And with respect to your competition, let's talk about that a little bit. You're seeing people that are typically younger now buying, that might be more savvy. I have some friends that are doctors and cousins and stuff, and they talk about this sort of WebMD mentality of when their patients come in and they kind of know more, quote unquote, know more than they do. They've already diagnosed what they have, and obviously they're almost always wrong. But do you see that with some of your clients that are, coming in thinking that they know more than you? Let's start with you, Tanner.
Not often. I get a lot of people on the investment side that seem to think that someone wants a property for a specific idea or a specific way to manage that property, so they want a traditional rental. And what I like to do is just put other ideas out there and see if anything sticks. So we're big believers in short-term rentals, Airbnbs. And a lot of people just, even though it's been around for a while, like people just don't utilize that as a tool to make income. So a lot of times I'll get a client that's looking for, like I said, a long-term rental, and then I'll put some numbers behind an Airbnb or a VRBO or short-term rental of any sort.
Mhm.
And a lot of times it's a much better investment for them. And the nice thing for us is you get to sell Airbnbs like multiple times. It is a great way to make money, but it's more work than a long-term rental. So you get a lot of people that don't like the actual work that goes into it, even though it's 4 or 5 times the return. So then for us as a business, it's great because they'll, 2 years later, they'll decide, hey, that's not something I really want to do. I appreciate that you help me make an extra $30,000, but let's sell this thing. It's, I got 50 grand in equity and let's go do something else. So the great thing for us is that they turn into like 3-4 time clients.
Interesting. Rebecca, you have any other thoughts on that?
You were talking about just, do people think that they're smarter than us?
Yeah. Do they come to the table kind of knowing, or at least presenting themselves as knowing more than you?
We get that. I kind of chuckled when you first brought it up because we were in a cash offer situation the other day, and I was trying to talk to her about, oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. Like, we just kept getting cut off. Like, oh yeah, you don't have to tell me about that. I'm like, okay, but that's my job. Like, I want to be thorough here and just explain the process. So yes, I do think that some people, because they have access to Google and Zillow and the Zestimate, they sometimes feel a little entitled to knowing more than they probably do. But as long as you agree with them and explain to them why they're right or wrong, I think we get on the same page and we can move forward very quickly.
That's very good insights. Now let's turn the lens a little bit different in a different direction. Let's look to the future and kind of tell me, in 10 years, where do you see the Signature Group? Where do you see Rebecca and Tanner? Where you guys expect to be in your team in about 10 years?
Well, in 10 years, we are going to have a lot more people in place. I think we need to scale. We realized in the last year that we are in the messy middle. We have put a lot of energy and time into our systems, and they are proven to work, and they are fantastic and very expensive systems. And those systems can either be used by 4 people or they can be used by 20 people. And right now we have a lot on the line. I guess this whole time I've just been under the motto of quality over quantity. But in that model, unfortunately, we have a lot lying on those 4 people to produce. And if they have one bad month, that means we have a bad month. So instead, we need to grow our team with those systems that we have so that we have a better opportunity to hit our financial goals. And so people is what I would say is going to be a huge difference on our end in the next 10 years.
Cool.
I think
Tanner?
my vision for the next 10 years leans a little more on the cash offer side. That's a relatively new side of our business. We've been doing it for about 2 years, where we've been in traditional real estate for like 10. I'd really like to double down on that. And if we can have, a 20-person team on the real estate side, I would hope to have that same 20-person team on the cash offer side. It is the leanest part of our business. We don't spend a lot of money on marketing on that. We get a lot of those deals because of the traditional real estate side. It's just us offering another option. And when it's taken, the return is great for us as business owners. So I'd really like to, really dive in and, like I said, double down on the investment side. So that's really my 10-year goal, is to build that as big as we built the traditional real estate side.
And how big is your team now?
There's 13 of us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's the 3 owners and our team leader and, what is that, 9 agents or 9 people?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice. And do you have a process to bring an agent through the system, or how does it you find them, guide them, groom them, and get them successful?
Well, I'm going to give this one to Tanner because he's really been taking the lead and the charge on our recruiting efforts. So he's got this one down.
Yeah, so I mean, what we've been focusing on recently is getting people right out of real estate school. It's fresh; they can come in, they don't have any bad habits. They learn Rebecca and Tanya's systems, and then they can hit the ground running. But our system for that is Jason and I take on the initial consult, the initial conversation. Usually, it's at a job fair or a Hogan Lunch and Learn, and then we pass them over to Tanya, who's our team manager, and then she is sort of the first filter. She's the first line of defense. So they do a 20-minute conversation with Tanya. If she thinks that are a decent fit for our team, then we go into another 2 or 3 step interview process to get them hired.
Nice. And so if you had like, you have this vision of this 40 plus person company, you're doing real estate, more concierge, more, holding hands with your customers, you're doing some cash offers, you've got all these things churning and burning. What are the tools that you're going to need to get there? Like if you had a magic toolbox that you could create, what tools will you need to get there?
I think eventually we're going to need some more staff people. We've had many conversations about utilizing a VA. I think that's probably a first step, is to do some of the menial tasks, through a VA service. And then, like I said, if we get to the point where we are the 40-person team, we will need more bodies, more staff people in office.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, so kind of how it works is these guys are out there doing the recruiting and, they're really like the face of our company. And then me and Tanya are the back end. So we're doing all the systems and the processes. And when we bring an agent on, it takes a lot of time. We got to get, especially when they're new agents, we got to teach them what a contract is, what an addendum is, how to write things, right? So there's a lot of steps that go into that. So my biggest focus is automating that process so that when we bring an agent on, there's an automated system of what they need to watch, what they need to do to get up and running very quickly. And so that's one of the systems that we're really working on right now.
Nice. So, at Spark Partners, one of our biggest mantras or the things we talk about the most is trends. That's what the whole foundation of this business trendsetter podcast is. And we feel as though, if you're aligned with a trend, if you're using a trend, then you're going to be successful. So I'm going to list off our top 6 trends. We manage lots more than that. And we've got a cool report that we'll send if you're interested. But I think you've probably even seen it. But we've got 6 in particular that we talk about a lot. I'm going to name them all. And in the back of your mind, you think about how many of those you currently align with or that affect your business. And then we'll come back and we'll kind of play that little game. Okay. Mobility, right? Mobility, the gig economy, the environment, demographics, asynchronous life. So being able to communicate, asynchronously. And let's see, the last one is, AI. So show of fingers, how many of those do you connect with? 3 of them? 4 of them? Yeah. Okay. Let's go with you, Tanner. What 3?
So we'd already talked about AI. Like I said, we really lean into any tools that can help us. So very much in line with AI and then the utilization of that. Demographics is huge. And one of the systems that we use, actually, again, it's big data, right? So they take some of the demographics data on, equity in a property, age of the people that are living in the property, and it gives you the likelihood of them wanting to sell or buy in the next year or so. Wow. So that's another one that I kind of align with. And then, I'm blanking on the third one I had.
Probably mobility.
Mobility. Yeah. Thank you, Rebecca. Mobility is huge for us. I mean, so for such a long time, real estate teams focus so much of their financial resources on purchasing buyer leads. Zillow is really sort of taken over. No one goes to thesignaturegroup.com to search for a house, right? Everyone goes to Zillow. So instead of fighting that, let them win, is kind of our thought process. let us figure out how to be mobile and how to get business in a different way. So that's why we've really leaned into the cash offer aspect. It's why we really lean into offering services on helping people start, short-term rentals, how to invest in real estate. But as far as getting people to go to our website, like it doesn't happen to the level that people are going to go to Redfin or Zillow, right? So it's like, stop fighting that and let's figure out how to win in a different way.
Okay, Rebecca.
Yeah, I'll just go off on that one a little bit and then I'll add the fourth one that I thought of. But we actually use Zillow to our advantage now. Instead of steering them away from it, saying, you can't use Zillow, you need to use our platform. I literally, in a buyer consultation, just say, pull out your phone and pull out Zillow. Of course, everyone has Zillow on their phone. And I say, show me one of the favorite properties that you've marked. They always have one. And I literally say, okay, now press this button, and I show them how to send it to me. And I just say, every time you see a property you like, share it with me. That way, we're just utilizing their platform and making sure that they're communicating with us using it. Also, with our sellers, we do seller reports every single week. And so that's one of the measurements that I pull and share with my sellers is how many people have viewed the property on Zillow and how many people have saved it. And that will help with the conversation of, are we expecting an offer soon, or do we need to talk about a price reduction? So everything is very mobile. Again, AI. What was the third one you said?
Demographics. You said
Demographics. Yeah, I mean,
Demographics.
we're targeting different demographics and keeping an eye on what those demographics are, right? Like I said, younger people are buying right now. The last one, I think, and I don't remember what you called it, but it was kind of that fluid communication.
asynchronous.
So we have a system called Sisu that we use for our clients, and it's a client portal. And one of our main focuses right now, and it has been for the last 6 months, is that transparency of what we're doing. So being able to show our buyer or seller exactly what we're doing in the back end, because a lot of people will just say, oh, I hired this agent and they stuck a sign in the yard and they just waited for it to sell, right? No, there's so much more that goes into it. So again, with our seller reports, we're really detailed on what it is that we're doing from a day-to-day basis to get the home sold. But then in the Sisu platform, it's a whole entire client portal that shows them where we're at in the process and what's next. Because everybody wants to know what's next. It takes away some of the stress and the anxiety of the process, being fully transparent on what we're doing.
Right. Let me talk about the other two real quick. And I think once I kind of give the backdrop, you'll understand more of that you're actually in all of them.
Okay.
I would say the environment is a bigger deal now than it was 10 years ago, because there might be some more forms you got to fill out, more BS on those forms, more this, more that on the environment. You might get even people that are moving to less urban areas because they want to be away from smog or whatever. So there's that aspect.
Yeah.
And then the other part is the gig economy. You guys yourselves are, in a manner of speaking, gig workers, right? Your 9 team members are gig workers. And I'm sure you're seeing a lot more people asking for, okay, I want 3 bedrooms, but I want to make sure that I've got an area that's my home office.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that's been, different now than it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it's like, okay, maybe it's cool if you have an extra room, we'll use it. And now people might be demanding, I need to have a home office. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it was huge through COVID, and it's continuing to grow.
So let's talk about, you kind of mentioned something that made me think about that, the lawsuit that's happened, the NAR lawsuit, National Association of Realtors, that is quote unquote sent shockwaves through the industry. And you see things online, you see the news. And so can you break it down? Is it really that big a deal? Is it really going to change much? And let's do it from 2 perspectives. You as the real estate professionals and me as a potential buyer. Is it going to affect me?
It has a potential to affect you. So what's changing is so it hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen in July. But in order for a property to get on MLS, there had to be a co-op offered. So a fee to the buyer's agent had to be listed, and it had to be showed. It was public facing, so everyone knew what everyone was getting paid, but it had to be shown. Now it's not going to be shown, and it doesn't have to be offered. So you can get a house on MLS the biggest platform to look for real estate, for $0. So the way it can affect a buyer is if they fall in love with a house and the commission is $0, they're not offering anything, and they still want the services of a realtor, they will have to either negotiate that in with the price, or they will have to come out of pocket and pay for it. I have a hard time believing that many people are going to offer $0, but that is a risk that buyers moving forward are going to have to contend with.
Okay. Rebecca, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not worried about it as far as our industry and a whole goes. We're still going to sell real estate. It's just who's going to pay us. And it's just a different kind of conversation. Again, being transparent about what we do as real estate agents is more important now than it ever has been, because people are going to see how much we actually do and pay us what we're worth, right? So again, it's just going to be more forms. It's just going to be a different line item on the settlement statement of how we get paid, but we're still going to get paid for what we do. And I think it's just going to take more negotiation on our behalf, because, we don't want that to be a burden on our buyers. So instead, we're just going to say, this is what we get paid, and we're going to do our best to get the seller to pay as much of that as possible.
Nice. I really like the idea of transparency. And, in that trend report we have, there's a couple of ones that you're touching on, but there's not one called transparency, but there's one that has to do about consumerism and the consumer wanting to know more information, be it a real estate transaction or dog food. People are more interested, or even, some protein shake. They want to know, what are the ingredients and how does it affect me? And so these are really good conversations. Any last thoughts here before we close out the podcast? Anything you want to share about what's happening in the industry that's exciting that our viewers and listeners should know?
Rebecca, you got anything?
Exciting. I mean, it's still a great market. Our sellers that purchase, I mean, we get people all the time. They're like, we're going to wait a year. We're going to wait a year. We're going to wait a year. And then 3 years go by and they would have had $40,000, $50,000 in equity in their home that they instead just paid to their landlord. So I think no matter what, it's always the time to buy. And that's the exciting part. It's just, there's always people that have to buy too, right? Death, divorce, where they say diamonds and diapers, the 4 Ds. So it's just getting in front of the right people to help them in that transition process.
Yeah, I always like to use the Chinese proverb, when's the best time to plant a tree? And it's 30 years ago. When's the second best time? Today. So that's really how I feel about real estate. And we have not made a bad real estate investment as a group, individually. It just works out. Like, you hold something long enough, it's going to make you money. So I guess if you would have asked me 10 years ago what I should have done, it would have been buy as many properties as possible.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a lively conversation, and it's helped me to grow and learn a few things about the real estate market. And so with that, we'll say goodbye for today. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Cheers.